I just finished my first aid training, and it put me in mind to go back through my first aid kit. I think my longtime viewers will remember the classic first aid kit that was 22 minutes long of me flapping around with my hands. So let's see if we can make this a little bit more engaging. First off, please do not be taking any medical advice from some Yahoo on YouTube. This is just what I do. If you want to go and buy your kit, that's cool. If you want to carry around some super duper trauma kit with, you know, sutures and tourniquet, make sure you have the appropriate training. That's my disclaimer. And let me know if there's anything that I forget or anything that you would suggest doing differently. Like I said, I'm cheap, so I've made my own. Let's get to it. I actually have a bunch of kits, and I'm going through this also to kind of separate stuff, make stuff a little bit more appropriate for the kit, and then whatever extra I have is going to go into the Teardrop, because of course that has a kit too in the galley. So that way I'm covered. All bases are covered. Why do I have chopsticks? Inquiring minds need to know. This is my kit. There are none like it. Like I said, I built my own, and this is stuff that works for me. Try and keep the jingling down to a minimum. This has the dog's information on it. I have the same information on their envelope that has their vaccination records in my glove box. That way, if anything happens and there's a panic situation and people are helping me care for the dogs, I don't have to repeat myself. I can just go, here, read it. So what I put on there is their name, their sex, their color, their breed. They're all neutered and spayed. Their approximate weight, when they were born, and any medical issues. So for Leo, male, black, brindle, and white, Boston Terrier, neutered, 25 pounds when he was born, and that his right eye was removed due to injury. So it's not a medical issue. Well, I guess technically it is a medical issue, but it's not an ongoing medical issue. You know, he's fine otherwise. King, I actually have to update his weight because he's put on a few pounds since then, of muscle, of course. But I put on there that he's got food sensitivities and he is reactive and exhibits fear aggression to other dogs. So if he needs to go into a shelter situation because I'm incapacitated, they know, you know, you can't just send him to a foster or whatever. It's not going to go well unless you keep him away from other dogs. And then Lily has no medical issues because she's practically perfect in every way. The bear bot I have because inevitably these sorts of things, you know, medical issues happen in the dark, in the rain, in really bad situations on the side of the road. So if I put my kit down and then it gets kicked into a ditch, I know that it's not where I left it. So, you know, I can hear where it's gone in case I need it. And then I've also got the cooling towel. You know, it's one of those ones where you wet it and it cools down, mainly because I do have brachycephalic, aka squishy faces, and they are prone to heat stroke or heat stroke. So I want to be able to cool any dogs down quicker. And you know, it's also just good to have. So the number one thing that I always rate out of every first aid kit is adhesive strips, and I need to add some more to these. I like getting the range, the different ones. I'm also going to add some moleskin, just to help with blisters and such. Gloves. I take all my gloves and I put them into like little pills. So I roll them up into pairs. So that way I can reach in, I can just grab one and I've got a pair of gloves. I'm not, you know, pulling them all out. Cotton balls. So these are triangular bandages. I'm not really planning on making any slings, but it would be good for tying, you know, say someone's broken a leg, you can tie their leg to the other leg or something else like that. Same thing with gauze, mainly just for securing things like gauze. Pads. Self-adhesive bandage. I love this stuff. I've got this stuff everywhere. You have to be careful that you don't over tighten it though. And if you're gonna buy it, don't buy it at the drugstore. Go to like a vet supply shop, tack shop, anything like that. I wouldn't even go to a pet store. It's essentially the same stuff, but it's far more economical to get it at like tack shop. Styptic powder, mainly for, you know, like you cut a dog's nail or you trim a dog's nail and it bleeds everywhere. If you go too close, you quick it. the last thing I want to deal with is, you know, a dog, you know, bleeding around the campsite because they've torn their nail open. It doesn't happen very often, but it is something that you have to be aware of, especially if you are in the bush. And then Leo, because he's a senior fella, he started to grow skin tags. And even today, we came back from our walk and I took his coat off and there was just blood everywhere. And I was like, where did this come from? And he had just opened up one of those skin tags a little bit, but there was blood everywhere. Now, luckily, I didn't need to raid the kit. It clotted pretty quickly, but had that been somewhere else, you know, I don't want, you know, my poor boy bleeding all over the place. Cotton swabs, applying ointments and, you know, little finicky little stuff. Not for cleaning ears because that's wrong, although it's not my fault they put the happy button in there. And then I obviously need more tape. So I need moleskin, more adhesive strips, and more tape. Safety scissors, particularly when dealing with dogs, because they like to move at just the right time, like when you're trimming their nails too, and then you quick them, and then you need the styptic powder. You can tell I've done that a time or 12. Tick remover. I will tell you, this thing got overtime use when we were in Kentucky. I have never been in a place where I have put the blanket out for the dogs, set up my chair, poured a beverage, and then watched the march of ticks. Not even joking. It was horrifying. Horrifying. And then I was pulling ticks off for like days. It was, oh. Tweezers too. Although I wouldn't use them so much for ticks because, yeah, they just don't seem to do it. Doesn't seem to do as well for those. But, you know, splinters and other little things like that. And then please don't judge by how rusty this is. I keep this handy, not so much for quills, although it would work for quills, but, you know, any other thing like that. Luckily, the dogs don't go off leash, so I'm not as worried about porcupines, but hey, you never know. But I did use this for removing a really thorny, I don't even know what to call it. It was horrible, but it was up under the wheel well, and I just trying to grab it. I was like, ah, so I use this. It got rusty because the box didn't close properly because I had too much stuff in it. And when I tried to shut it, I completely ruptured a container of fluids that was in there. I don't see any point to getting a new one because I'm not using this very often. This is backup. So that's why I said, don't judge. I can hear people judging already. So because it is wintertime in Canada right now, there are some things that I'm not leaving in the kit, like antibiotic ointment. You shouldn't leave it in freezing temperatures. Antihistamine. What I've done is I'm going to cover it up. Although it kind of defeats the purpose of showing you. I've measured out figured out their dosage based on their weights, and I've written it on here. Now, the reason I don't want to show it is because I don't want anyone to go, well, you know, my dog's 80 pounds, King's 80, well, technically King's 85. My dogs are about the same weight. I'm going to give him the same dosage. You don't know what stuff I'm using. I don't know what stuff you're using, and I don't want to make it easy for someone to overdose their dog on antihistamine. I spoke to my vet. Speak to yours before you dose them with anything. And then I also have a little spray container of alcohol, which I took out previously because I was worried it was going to explode. For the dogs, they get peroxide. Now, obviously this is too big to fit in the container, but I also keep it in here with some cotton balls, and there's a little thing of ointment in there because King has deep front feet. So what happens is sometimes he gets sand in there, he licks them. It irritates it. He gets more sand in there and then he licks it more. So that is just something that I keep it kind of wherever we are. So we're here, it stays here. It actually stays on my kitchen counter pretty much. Should we address the chopsticks? No, not yet. So this is my emergency kit. This goes in my adventure bag. Self-adhesive bandages, gauze pads, triangular sling, more gloves, tape, and more chopsticks. Now, before anyone busts my chops about how much plastic bags I'm using, there's a reason why. A, I like to keep everything organized. So my gloves are all together, my gauze is all together, my pads are all together, my swabs are all together. Worst case scenario, you stumble across someone who's, crashed their car on the side of the road. So you put your gloves on and then you're treating them, and there's broken glass everywhere, they're cut all to shreds, and then you reach into your kit and you pull out your gauze. Well, your bloody gloves are going to contaminate everything. So this way, I just have to replace the things that I've opened. Or it's raining, I don't want to have to replace, okay, probably $10, but still. That way, everything is contained, it's going to stay clean, I don't have to worry about it, getting damaged. The other thing is, it's not single-use plastic if you use it more than once. So it's not like every time I crack open that thing, I'm replacing the plastic. So this is going to be good for a while. Why do I keep so many chopsticks? A, I eat way too much takeout, and they give you chopsticks, and I hate the idea of throwing them out. 2, if you're going to start a fire, you can take a knife or a hatchet or whatever, shred some of it down. Now you've got a little bit of the tinder. You got a little bit of tinder, not a tinder. That's something totally different. But you've also got a very down and dirty makeshift splint. Would I use this for securing your leg or anything? No, I would use your other leg or my hiking poles or something like that. But let's say, you sprain your finger. Okay, and wrist. You can take several of them. I'm not going to unwrap them all because I still need these, but you take a couple of them and you down and dirty, emergency type situation where you just have to, secure things for a little bit. And if you have dogs like I do, is it the best? No, of course not, but I'm not going to carry splints for every possible situation. I would not have enough room, and I do not have enough money. Let me know what you think. What did I forget? Inevitably, I've forgotten something. Oh, besides aspirin. Unfortunately, the heart thing is just one of those things that better to have and not need than not have and need. And of course, we don't give aspirin to dogs. What are your thoughts? Do you do your own first aid kit? Do you buy them? Have you had any instances where you're like, oh, I wish I had? Let me know. Definitely love to hear it. And I'm a bit of a first aid hoarder, believe it or not. So yeah, if there's anything else that I can add to the kit other than an AED, I haven't quite gotten to the stage where I'm carrying a $1,500 AED around. If anyone wants to send me one for Christmas, love to have it. Like, subscribe, share. Let me know if you see any value to this. I really appreciate you. I know I say it every time, but I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day, out of your busy day, to spend time with me, and hopefully you get some value out of this. See you out there. Safe travels.